Hi, this is Matt Dale and Hayden McQueenie for the Quantum Leap podcast, and I'm very excited to be able to hand over to Hayden in a moment to tell us what he's been doing the last couple of days and who he's been talking to. We've got a great interview coming up. So Hayden, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're about to be sharing?
Sure. Well, because we had this news of the new series and we got the character list, we noticed that Herbert Magic Williams, who was the Lee in the Vietnam episode, was going to be the only character reprising his role. So, me being the Quantum Leap podcast's professional stalker, I decided I'd speak to the actor if I could, see if he was planning on reprising the role. And obviously, I've managed to find him. And by some massive fluke, Christopher Kirby, who is the actor, lives in Melbourne, where I do as well. So this
Amazing.
is, yeah.
It's not a
So
fluke. You planned this when you moved to Melbourne years ago. You knew this was going to happen, right? This is a very long
uh,
game you've been playing.
I think GTF Dubs knew this. Actually, he dropped me here when I was born. Yeah. So, like I said, by some sheer coincidence or some divine intervention, Christopher Kirby happens to live in Melbourne and invited me over to his house to do the interview. He was very, very keen to speak to us. And he actually didn't know anything about the Quantum Leap podcast reincarnation. And since then, he's obviously been in touch with his agent and trying to get back on the show. We have no idea what the outcome is going to be yet. But in the meantime, I've just been having an awesome time talking to him. You wouldn't believe the wave of relief when I got there because I'm sure everyone watches Catfish. You never really know what you might be walking into.
True.
So when he opened his door and I was looking at magic, and believe me, he has not changed in all these years. It was like if he'd been wearing his military outfit from that episode, I would have thought I'd just stepped back into the Quantum Leap accelerator and gone into the episode. And look, it was an absolute pleasure to interview Christopher because he's so intelligent, so witty. Everything he says is so heartfelt. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a listen to it yourself yet.
Yeah,
But
I've not. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I'm just about to start editing it or watching it now as we cut this together. But I saw the excitement in chat when you came back from seeing him. It was it was really tangible. So
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
look, it was great fun. And we kind of got along like a house on fire. You know, sometimes there's people you just automatically click with.
yeah.
And it was really quite a spin out because he was so interested in the podcast and wanting to know everything that was going on with us as well, asking me about all the interviews that we'd done because I have organized most of them and wanting to know how I managed to do it.
Yeah.
Let him in on some trade secrets.
Trade secrets of stalking.
And yeah, but the funny thing was, he started telling me a little bit about his experience on Quantum Leap and how
Yeah.
much he loved Dean Stockwell, how cut up he was when Dean passed away a few months ago. And we were talking for about a good half hour, and then I realized, oh, maybe we should put this on on video.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
were there for several hours, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we recorded for a good hour and a half, and
Yeah.
of course, I think it was Albie said pics or it didn't happen. So, of course, this being our first in-person interview, I had to film at least part of it. So,
Absolutely.
what the Leapers are looking at the moment is going to be the video of the first half hour of the interview. After that, unfortunately, my phone ran out of memory. But it died at the right time though, because it was right at the end of where we were finishing talking about Quantum Leap and got into a few other things. But yeah, we do have an interview which will be entirely audio going in, I think, a main episode of the podcast, and that goes for a good hour and a half. Good luck editing that.
Oh wow. Okay. Might be
But
going to Albie.
yeah, but I'm sure that everyone in the meantime is going to really enjoy the video interview. So the first third or so of the interview, which I did manage to get on tape, and yeah, it was just probably one of the best experiences of my life. that and the day that I had lunch with James Harper, who was Vinny the Viper. So, yeah, I hope everyone enjoys this interview, and maybe somewhere along the track we can get some more of our hosts to be able to do some in-person interviews as well. Maybe we can find someone who's in England or
the cast of
or
Blood
there's
Moon. I'll do that Blood Moon reunion one day.
that would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, Leapers, enjoy this, our video interview with Christopher Kirby, and then make sure that you keep checking the Quantum Leap podcast, because the full audio interview will also be included in an upcoming episode.
Amazing.
Hello, Leapers. Welcome to this very special edition of the Quantum Leap podcast and the Starbright Project podcast. I'm here with the OG Herbert Magic Williams.
Wow, the OG. Wow.
Yeah, Christopher Kirby.
That makes me sound old as hell, doesn't it?
Well, the reason I do say that is, as our most in-depth listeners know, Magic is going to be the only character from the original series who will be continuing into at least the pilot. So we don't know if Chris will be reprising his role or not. We'll keep you informed on that. But at the moment, we'll say the OG Magic, just so that we know.
So we know. Original mirror image, yes. All right, yes.
Yeah, so for anyone who needs the info, Chris was in the Quantum Leap episode, The Leap Home Part 2 Vietnam, and he played the mirror image of Sam in that episode.
Or yes. Yes. Or was it the other way around?
Or Sam might have been your mirror image.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Well, now we're getting into that. That's going to be a whole other debate. But yes, that was me.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
Yeah, and this is a very special edition as well, because it's our very first in-person interview. Just out of a sheer fluke. Chris lives in Melbourne, where I also live, and he was very kind, inviting me over to his house to record the podcast in person. And my colleagues said, "Picks or it didn't happen."
Picks or it didn't happen. Wow, that's dangerous, isn't it?
So that's why I put it on video.
Oh, I see. Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks very much for joining us, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and by the way, if I sound like a babbling lunatic, don't worry. We have some fantastic editors who make me sound coherent.
Oh, you have. Hey, guess what? We haven't started yet. Wait till we get into this. You'll be like, does this guy ever stop talking?
Believe me, they'd much prefer hearing you than me.
Well, then again, as they say, what is it? It's almost like it says, if you want to prove yourself an idiot, keep talking. That's the whole thing. Anyway, some saying like that now.
Okay, so one thing that our listeners would love to know is, how did you originally find out about the role of Magic back in the day?
Okay, I think, now if I'm not mistaken, I was called, and this was it was either my first or second role, and I'm trying to remember. But I remember I think I was replacing somebody, and what happened was the person, and this is a crack up. The person they had, for some reason, I'm not sure if they looked rough enough or something like that.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? And I kind of went like, oh, okay. But look, and even then, back then, like, I really kind of had a baby face. You know what I mean? It was like really just kind of like, oh. And
what do you mean had? You haven't changed a bit in all those
nah, I got stuff going on here. I got, but then it was just like, I just went like, wow. And then even when I look at photos back then, I have to kind of just go, oh my God, how, you know what I mean? It's
yeah, I get that.
It's I mean, on one hand, it's good to look back, but then on the other, you just kind of go, oh my God, that was so young, you know what I mean? And so it's and then also with that, it just brings back a whole flood of memories, just like even getting to the set that day, the call from the agent, oh, can you show up,
Perfect.
And and there was another incident that happened during that time. Oh, also, not to sort of bring down the podcast. It was, I knew I got the job Oh no, sorry, it's a different job. Sorry, I'm just sorry. I'm just like they're all mixing up now. You know, at that age when everybody kind of like, and so
Back in
no,
your day?
that wasn't back in my day. No, that was not. That's right, because I was replacing someone else, and so that was something. But there was another job where a major incident happened in my life that it actually happened on that day, but that wasn't quantum leap. Right? But I will say this: I've always been. I always did like the show. You know, television back then was a lot different. You know, God, oh my God, talk about sounding old. Back in my day, but it was a show that. You know, it really sort of showed the, for lack of a better word, just the goodness of humanity sometimes.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it happens in a time when you least expect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it showed, sometimes when we think we can't help, you know, there's always a way to even lend a hand, whether or not if you have the money or whether or not, sometimes just being in a room with somebody can just speak volumes. You know what I mean? And so, and it's really interesting the fact that, you know, the thing was a mirror image because really it reflects back to us, you know, but you know what I mean? I'm sure I'm sure that's why it's sort of in that vein, you know.
And
also,
why it still transcends today.
Why it still transcends today, and also to mirror portals and things like, wow. It's just, you know, so, but yeah, it was always a show that left you with something. You know what I mean? It left you with a feeling of either happiness or hope, and sometimes even if it was on a downer, you know what I mean? It still left you with a feeling, you know, and you know, at the end of the day, that's why we watch, you know, movies and things along that to feel. Yeah. You know, because sometimes our own lives may be a little too intense. Yeah.
And to escape maybe from what you're currently feeling and to feel something different.
Exactly. And so and that's why soap operas used to be so popular. You know what I mean? And so because the thing is they make these circumstances so crazy, it's almost like, oh my God, I can't believe you see this girl. She's like her twin, and you know.
I think Marlene is possessed by the devil at the moment. So
well, you know, as you do, you know. So, but yeah, and so it's you know, it's why we it's kind of like why we exist. You know, the old saying is, you know, we need to see ourselves in stories to sort of understand the world around us. And I think Quantum Leap was a perfect example of that because it got to leap back and forth in time in order to show you, you know, just obviously different. I can't call them different, maybe parables, maybe.
Yeah, different perspectives.
Yeah, different. Yeah, and so it just there was always something. You're always getting something from the story. You know Absolutely. What I mean? So yeah.
And what was the audition process like? If you remember.
Oh man, you know what? If I remember correctly, I think I just went in and read a couple lines. You know, and you know, you're young and dumb and stuff, so you just walk up. All right, I'm just gonna do this. All right, so what is it? Okay, great. You know, and I remember I did it, and then it was like, okay, you got it, and I was like, oh, okay, fantastic. You know, and then it was like, oh, and then in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, okay, I got it. Then I thought, oh man, I don't have my SAG card. Right? I remember. But here's the thing, though, right? I remember I walked on set, and I was actually trying to find someone like a producer or something, just to kind of go, hey man, look, thank you so much, you know. Hey, just to let you know, right? And then I think I might have mentioned to the first AD, I forget. And then he was like, oh, don't worry, we'll just tap Hartley, right? Just like that, like boom, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. All right. You know
know what they say. It's always easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission, isn't it? So.
Oh, is it? Wow. Okay. That's a bit. Hold on. Let's dissect that one. Okay. Yeah. And so it was. And so to me, that was. I was more worried about that. But then, you know, you get into the scenes because you needed to know the scenes, even if you're a mirror image, because obviously, you know, it was going to be played out. Yeah. You know, that whole thing. And I remember we had the one scene at the bar. and we're sort of going back and forth. And I had to play the whole thing out. So, there were, like the whole cast was there this particular day. And I'm just like, boom, 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 boom. And they went, oh, that's okay. All right, let's do that again. He says, oh, it's good, Chris. All right. And then, we just start snapping. And then, you're already riding on the horse. And then it's almost like, okay, let's go.
Perfect.
And he just went, wow, that was fantastic. That was really fantastic. And so that left me with a warm feeling, and the other actors, and the other actors in the cast. I mean, the guy from Seinfeld was in it. The guy who played Putty, and I mean, so many actors.
Yeah, there's the guy who was he's in Family Guy as Joe. With the really deep voice.
Yeah. And so, it's Putty. Putty. Yeah. And obviously with Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell, I mean, I'm just sitting there just kind of going, well, guys, thank you for letting me in the boat and help, and I'll just help row, Yeah. And so it was such a especially that first day, because when you're the new kid on the block, and you still get this too when it's your first day on set, you're always a bit like, okay, just to find your level. But yeah, I've never felt so welcomed, and obviously it's like one of my first gigs, but I never felt so welcome in all my life. Everybody was just so nice and kind, and sometimes, you've been in this business a while, it's not always like that, but that day, that particular day, and and the other days I filmed, it was just amazing. It was a great first day on TV set day.
That sounds awesome.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many people that we do talk to say pretty much exactly the same thing as you. Everyone was welcoming. Everyone loved being there. And this is why we have so many people who, like you, are so keen to talk about their experiences because they had such great experiences.
Oh, and everyone was just so fantastic, and everyone wanted to know how and really, let's be honest, we're at work, so really, no one really has to say anything, but people really went out of the way to actually ask, hey, how are you? Like Dean Stockwell was like, he'd be talking, and he goes, hey, I'm Dean. Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Stockwell. No, Dean, right? And he literally said that, not Dean. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah. You really have to appreciate when they're going to take the time out to do that for you. Yeah. And I mean, when people are happy, they output better in their work. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's better than the other analogy about permission than the other one. But that's good. It's true though.
Well, if only more workplaces followed that sort of philosophy.
Well, they could. Well, mostly people are now working from home because of this whole pandemic thing. But it's true, and maybe that's a great lesson also, and that's what I think in order to really sort of tell those stories, it really needed to sort of come from the top down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you're working that way, when you're putting everything into the stories, into the product, that basically make it what it is, to give you that feeling. And let's be honest, it sort of harkens back to a time gone by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is perfect to have it set in certain historical times. You know what I mean? Because it just harkens back to a time when things were a little more simpler. Things were a little more, well, at least we thought they were a little more. Let's say earnest.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to think in the olden days were earnest, when really, let's be honest, I mean, we're as earnest as we want to be.
That's it.
During that time, no matter whether it's now, tomorrow, or in the future, right? And so it just goes to show that, just because, we might hearken for those days again, we can really still have it. The question is, it's just how are we looking at life? Definitely. How are we projecting on life? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're speaking so much. It means I don't have to speak much.
Oh no, I told you, dude. I told you you're gonna be like this. Like, oh, when does this guy go shut up?
When Chris and I were speaking online, I said, "Do you want me to bring over the DVDs? It might help refresh your memory because it's been a long time. Chris is like, nah, I remember it like it was yesterday. And
well, it's like, I think, especially, when you're an actor and you sort of do this, it's you always, especially that first, and I keep saying this, that first SAG job, the thing that got you your card, you know what I mean? That's always a very special day. It's as if like, hey, okay, you're allowed to come play with the big boys. Come on in, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was such a great day. And TV obviously works fast. It works faster than film, but still, even then, nobody was. There was not. You didn't have anybody who was, having a bad day. Pulling a temper tantrum. Or how come you don't have this? That? Nobody was like, literally from the top down. Everybody was just so. It was just nice. It was nice. You know what I mean? And so it was just. It was. It was great. If I actually had to dream up a perfect time, actually, to start on set, it would be that. I couldn't have dreamt that.
Yeah.
If I tried.
Well, let's hope that that carries on into the new series as well. And
Yes.
do you remember anything in particular from filming? Any special experiences or funny experiences apart from everyone obviously being?
Yeah,
really
I mean,
welcoming?
look, it's a thing of you remember little things like all right, like when Dean Stockwell came on the set, he literally he announced like hey, all right, here comes the fun, right? And he's smoking a cigar, right? And it's like you sort of saw the smoke and you smelled it before he got in the room, right? And then he just makes the announcement. And everybody's like, hey, Dean, how's it going on? And everybody just kind of, it's almost like they break out a little applause. And he literally says hi to everybody. Like everybody, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm new. I probably won't, I'm keeping my place. And he goes, hey, good Dean. And obviously I said that before, like, he didn't have to do that, but that was kind of nice. You know what I mean? Because it just goes, and, being like on the top, one of the top on the call sheet, it's sort of, that sort of reflects all the way down, and so, and that's a lesson there too.
Yeah.
You know
Definitely.
what I mean? If you, I think there is a certain responsibility when I think everybody has responsibility, because you're creating, so everybody needs, I think you need to have that thing going. But also, it's the fact that when you have the leads who are so inviting and just set a great mood for everybody else, and it just makes you want to do your best work instead of sort of maybe living in a fear or just living in fear and just kind of cracking a whip, that sort of thing.
And so many actors have gotten their big break by doing Quantum Leap, like Jennifer Aniston and Patricia Richardson and quite a few others.
Oh, wow.
And you would expect, I mean, we haven't been able to speak to those particular people, but you would expect that, it would be from the good experiences that makes them want to keep going. So
I guess so. And, and that's, but look, as I said, I think that's just a testimony to the creators, producers, and, and everybody involved, really, to make sure that, we take care of this baby and look after it. And so, I mean, that's the best analogy I can kind of come up with. Yeah. But, it is. It's a a show becomes sort of a living thing. And I think that's why we also attach to it, as fans and whatever, because it's something that, something that we feel. You know
Definitely.
what I mean? And so, yeah. So.
Yeah, it certainly really looked like Vietnam in that episode. Do you remember where it was filmed and anything that they had to do to recreate that look?
Now they already had it sort of marked out. Now I'm trying to remember. Was that at the ranch? Was that at the ranch or was that at the? No, it had to be at the ranch. And Warner Brothers Ranch, which is just outside of. Oh my God, I'm going to forget now. But it's well, they call it the ranch because obviously they used to film a lot of westerns and things there. But I think that's where they had it, and I'm not mistaken.
Is it the Disney Ranch, the one in California?
Yeah, but I don't think it's Disney. Well, Disney owns everything now.
Disney does now, don't they?
I'm pretty sure it was at the ranch.
Okay.
And so it was like, when he showed up, it was almost like you just kind of went, okay, yeah, you didn't really have to do anything. Maybe don't look over that way because there's a car parked. Yeah. But outside of that, it was just it was what the now that's bugging me now. Normally I just go like, so hold on a second. Let me just find that.
I should have brought my book with me, actually. Yeah. One of our hosts, Matt, actually wrote an encyclopedia all about quantum leap. All about quantum leap. So it probably has that in it.
Probably
I didn't think to bring it.
Yeah. But
I'll have to send you it after I look it up.
But it's, and it's that thing of, the funny thing about, because I've had to play quite a few soldiers in my time. The thing about war is, especially for soldiers and the thing, these were young kids. They were kids being thrown into a situation, being told like, okay, go attack. You know what I mean? And I, and look, and I've had members of my family go off to war. And in my mind's eye, I just kind of thought, oh my God, that must be so, you always put yourself in other people's shoes, but I just kind of go, my God, how did you do it? That whole thing. And then you're thinking, okay, if you had to go, how would you deal with all this stuff? You know what I mean? And personally, if I had to actually answer that question, I think I would have to be that person that would be that almost not happy-go-lucky, but the person that would just kind of go, hey, we lived another day.
Yeah.
All right, who's got the beer? You'd
have to stay optimistic throughout. You
know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's so easy to be, to obviously get down because literally death is everywhere. Yeah. But that being said too, you have to stay sharp, because at any moment, and so, just little things that we sort of tie in. Well, probably exactly. Yeah, but you just did in the mirror, dude. But these are all the things that you sort of put in your body in order to kind of allow this, allow the person to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because Dean Stockwell, he really didn't like having to play the really dramatic roles because of the fact that he would have to put himself in that sort of a mindset so that he could portray real method actor. Yeah. And even for a role where you're in the mirror for a few seconds at a time, the amount of work that you're putting in, it's really astounding. And,
well, the thing is too,
to you.
But the thing is too, when you look in a mirror, a soldier, what is he seeing? You know what I mean? Is this the last time he's gonna, see himself? Did he get a new scar today? Is that thing infected? You know what I mean? It's like you have so much going through your mind. I wonder what my parents are doing now. Are you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
so all this stuff that literally in the blink of an eye can be taken away.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were doing the mirror shots, was it really difficult getting the mirror movements with Scott Bakula right, and was it difficult getting the geometry for the mirrors right?
Well, I think they've been doing the show for, I think, what was that, the start of the third season?
Third season.
When we started, so they kind of had that mirror technology down. I mean, I was learning on the fly of going, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm here, but they're over there. You know what I mean? And so, I was sort of learning as we went along. But no, they had it down. They said, okay, Chris, would you mind just leaning back just slightly? Okay. All right, there it is. All right, you guys mark that? Okay, Chris, you can rest now. And I'm thinking, whoa, hold on. Let me put this in my body.
Quick.
You know what I mean? And so, so they had it actually quite down. And obviously too, it was, they do. And when you actually look at that one image that when I look back on it, it almost looks like they're there.
Yeah. Like
they're there instead of being sort of, off. Just, and so, you sort of learn, you learn quickly in TV. If you don't, you're gone.
No, that's
but
right.
it's, but yeah, it's just little things like that. that. But they, as I said, it was the third season, so they had that stuff down. Yeah.
You know, just something that I've been wondering. I spoke to another person who was on the show, and because
on this particular show, on
Quantum Leap,
okay,
and because she was in the Leap Out, she also got shown in the next episode, and so she'd get residuals from both of them.
Yes.
The mirror shot with you in it is in the opening of every episode in season 5. I was wondering, do you get residuals from those?
Oh yeah, but like right about now, they'd be down to like, listen, hold on, that was shown in, that was shown in somewhere in some small country in Europe. Then I got, was that 5.5 cents?
5 cents.
Yeah, and so it goes because obviously they pay for advertising and things like that, and so, and as the show goes on, obviously it decreases over time. You know what I mean? So yeah. But every once in a while, I'll get a little SAG thing from something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah.
Maybe enough for a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah, I guess depending on where I'm getting the coffee.
But no, I was genuinely interested there because I didn't know if it was the same with like the theme song from the.
Theme songs are apparently theme songs are one of the most lucrative things now in television. Because obviously you wrote the song and basically gets played every week and all that stuff. But apparently that's like crazy stupid money. Yeah. Right. Which is why I'm coming out with my albums of anything. Yeah, and so but apparently that is that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. No, I just meant because your image is played during the theme song in all those episodes. So. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, in the season 5 ones. So I was wondering if you got residuals from the season 5 episodes.
I didn't see it. Hold on, I might need to make a couple phone calls. Anyway, but I didn't know that.
With the lawyers.
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. You know,
that's great.
So, but yeah, it's and I'm sure that would have been factored in because there's there's watchdogs on that. Yeah.
You might have to go and find your contract from 30 years ago and scour through it.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I don't even know. Very good question. It's somewhere.
So that was the first third of the interview. Unfortunately, this is where my phone died. So you'll have to stay tuned and you'll be able to listen to the audio of the rest of the interview, which is going to go for at least another hour. And I hope you're all enjoying it so far. I know that I had a lot of fun, and you could. I think you can tell just from our conversation. We're going to be mates, Chris and I. This is because it was so much fun, and like I was saying at the start, I was at his house for 4 hours because we just started chatting and didn't stop, and then next thing I knew, 4 hours had passed. So very generous and one of the best experiences of my life. Thanks so much for that, Chris. And I'm sure that you've got everyone behind you hoping that you're going to be able to reprise your role in Quantum Leap, The Next Generation.
And thank you, Hayden, for arranging this. Great work.
Yeah, no worries.
Our fans are obviously massive sci-fi geeks, and I do have some questions about some of the sci-fi things you've been in. But because I'm interviewing you, I'm asking what I want first.
So you're not a sci-fi geek?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
There's a lot of other stuff that I like too. I like just about everything.
Okay, all right, just checking. Because I didn't know whether or not if I need to be here because the fans will be like, oh, what are you gonna do now? He's not a sci-fi guy, huh? You gonna stand up for us?
Yeah. No. The one that really jumped out at me when I was looking at your IMDb was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I went and looked up that episode, and you had a really funny scene with Will Smith. Yeah. What was Will Smith like to work with?
Oh, it was good. It was really funny because that particular scene, and obviously we bump into each other over the years. Because Jada was down here working on The Matrix sequels. And so I was on that. And Will was going around saying hi to everybody. Then I was kind of waiting my turn as I do. And he just sits there and he goes, "Hey man, Will." And I said, "Yeah, Chris." And he goes, "Oh, nice to meet you." And I go, "Hey man." And he was like, and he goes, "We met before." And he goes, "What?" And then he's sitting there talking, and I go, "Yeah, And then I basically had to go through our relationship, and he was like, kind of going, "Oh man, dude, I'm sorry. And I think he just got off of Ali too.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was sort of a bit. And I just kind of went, yeah, man, Mr. Rodman. Back in the, he goes, oh man, damn, why didn't you say so? And I go, I just did. And so, we crack up about that. But like on that day, it was like, well, that's a very interesting one too, because and on that day, because I was doing a show called Space Above and Beyond.
Yeah.
And the casting director said, look, I'm having a problem casting this role. Would you mind showing up to NBC? I mean, at about, like 7:45 for this, for these callbacks, because I got to find this guy and I can't seem to find him. And I went, okay, all right. Do you have a script? She goes, yeah, I'll just give it to you. But, I'm sure there's going to be some notes and changes. I said, all right, whatever. So I show up and there's people you're literally sitting out in the hallway about to go into an office. We're sitting outside and a couple guys went through and I heard some laughter, but it wasn't like, bah ha ha. But I kind of went, okay, maybe no one's hitting the joke, right? I remember they brought me in last.
Oh, okay.
Right. I never, Lisa Miller. It was Lisa Miller who brought me in. Hello, Lisa Miller. Lisa Miller Katz, I think her name is now. And I said, well, and I looked at her and I said, so do you have any questions? And I said, do you have any notes? Like that, right? Just straight up, right? Yeah. And she goes, and she literally looked at me. She goes, just sit on it. Just like that, right? As soon as she said it, I went like, oh, like something went off. Yeah. I went, okay. And I don't know if everybody remembers, but I was sort of showing Will around an apartment, that whole thing, that sort of thing. And then I remember it was physical, right? So there was actual couch there and things like that. And so I remember I was showing him around the apartment. Oh, yeah, this is a great place, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, all right, so one guy, he said, so when are you moving out, right? And so I just sort of sit down and look at him really serious, right? And go, oh, I'm not moving out, right? Like that, right? The producers started laughing, right? And they were laughing and they kept laughing, right? I mean, almost to the point where I kind of went like, oh, wow. When it starts to become a role, right? And, I don't know. I would say a good 5 minutes. Literally. And they're going, oh, that was fantastic. No, all right, that's great. And they said, oh, do you guys want to see it again? They goes, no. And they were, and as they were saying goodbye, they had tears in their eyes and all that stuff, right? And I looked over at Lisa and I went, and she kind of gives me a thumbs up. And, okay, all right. And so I started to walk out and she goes, well, I'm sure we'll be in touch. Now, this is back in the days when we had pagers, ladies and gentlemen. Right. And I had a pager for a legitimate reason because that's how my agent got in touch with me. So as I'm walking to the car and I'm putting the keys in my door, my pager goes off. So I had to go find the phone booth. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was pre-mobile phones. All right. Or I just
was that like 93 or something?
Yeah. Or I didn't have one at the time, either or. I forgot which was first. And I just get the phone call and it just goes, and my agent says, oh, yeah, you got it. Just like, and she says it like that. She never used to be that enthusiastic. And she goes, oh, yeah, you got it. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, good. And I said, well, that's good to know. I mean, they seem to like it. They said, like it? Holy hell. From what I gather, you know what I mean? And so I'm already getting the playback from my agent, and I haven't even gotten to my car yet. Yeah, so that was a blast. I mean, and then on the day, because when they film the show, they really get the audience really hyped up. It's like really like a party. Yeah. And since it was like one of the last episodes, it was a lot of stuff going through the audience. So there's a lot of sort of celebration, but also a little melancholy, things like that, because the show's about to end. And I remember when we started to shoot my scene, when we went live on the floor with it, and we started to do it. I did it, and the reaction was a little different than, say, the producers, because you kind of hear like a, and then you hear like a, oh, like it's almost like a groan, right? And then I heard this one, I remember it was a female voice that's going, oh, he nasty, like that, right? And I was like kind of going, okay, I guess I got a reaction, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. But then it was almost like, and then I'm thinking, okay, do I need to, bring this up, bring it down, and I just looked over at Will. He just kind of wings. He goes, no, that's good. He goes, that's good. That's real good. I go, okay, just checking. All right. And so, because, as an actor, you're sort of there to serve the story. Yeah. So And that's what I was there to do, to serve story. But it was a ball, and everybody on that show, they were also quite, friendly and open. And hi, I'm such and such. It's a pleasure to meet you. And so there wasn't nobody was head tripping or anything like that. Everybody was there for the production. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I do love hearing that everything that you've done pretty much is just a great experience.
I got some story. So anyway, I went to this one thing, right? They said I had a job, but then again, it was like, oh, really? Okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah.
But listen, you're going to have, I think in life, you're always going to have your ups and downs. Yeah. That's just what life is. It's it can't always be all high moments, can't always be all low moments. You know what I mean? It's like example, like the tide. The tide's not always high.
Yeah.
It's not always low, but it's always in flux.
Yeah.
And that's what life is. And usually careers and work and everything else, because we're part of that.
Yeah. No, we do love hearing all the great experiences, though. Makes for poor podcasting when it's all high.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine? And then all of a sudden I discovered gold, and there was a leprechaun. And then he said, all right, I'll do anything for you. And I'm kind of going,
we're still waiting for one guest star to say that Scott and Dean were absolutely nasty to them. No, we haven't been able to find one yet.
It's like that old joke. Like you get those old Hollywood legends, like Jerry Lewis, right? Sometimes Jerry Lewis could be known, as he got a little older, to be a bit thorny. But then the old joke is, yeah, but he treated me well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, look, I'm a firm believer, sort of what you put out, you get back. You know what I mean? So it's not like, and I've worked, I guess, with some pretty big names and things like that. But I just consider it like, obviously they're work colleagues. And so it's nothing like, you're there to do a job and all that. So it's and it's nice. And it's always nice to think like somebody that is famous is nice, because maybe that just reaffirms our faith in whatever. And sometimes, and look, and that's not to say I haven't had experiences where people weren't a little less than, for lack of a better word, kosher.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, you're going to get that in life. You know what I mean? So it's to be expected. Now, if you're going to ask me who those people are,
no, I'm not going to put you in that sort of
spell his name.
We'll keep that off the record.
Yeah, to keep that off the record, all of a sudden it's almost like, hey, how come it's being typed out? Anyway.
I do have a photographic memory. So.
Yes.
But you've actually been in Australia for quite a number of years, I think since the early 2000s. And
I do travel back and forth, though. Yeah. So, yeah.
And you've been in an awful lot of Australian stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, why did you decide to move out to Australia and pursue the Australian market?
It was love. Yeah, so it was love and family. And so it was an opportunity to come, to be somewhere else besides just being in Los Angeles. Now, mind you, I could have moved to, I guess other places in the States. But, it's funny how you get a little different perspective when you you move away from where you grew up. And I guess I've always been and I've traveled quite a bit. And so I always had sort of I think I had a different take on things. But I also knew that sometimes when let's say if you're in a place for too long, you might just take on a perspective that may not be worldly. Let's say, I know I'm picking my words carefully, but I like to think. And literally, I'll say this, and my friends always laugh. I said, well, I am sort of a citizen of the world because I have to think in terms like that. And that's not to say I'm not proud where I come. I'm a very proud American, African-American, and Californian, Los Angelian, very proud of where I come from, where I grew up. But at the same time, I also know that, there's a place for us in this world that doesn't necessarily consist of us constantly going, me, rah, 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 sort of thing. We're here to, I can't even say help. It's more like share, enlighten, to uplift. Look, I got in this business at the end of the day to tell stories of humankind, no matter where they come from, where they're going, because I always think we have to see that in order to understand who we are in this bigger realm. And I think the best way of doing that is possibly sometimes going outside of where you grew up in order to understand that, right?
Absolutely.
Because you get perspective. There's no way you don't, right? Yeah. And through story, no matter what language, era, time frame, what have you, as long as it comes from the heart, it'll go to the heart.
Yeah.
And so that to me I find that very important.
Very well said.
And that's why I continue to do it, because I still think there's, just when you think, oh, okay, maybe everybody's learning a lesson, I go, wait, who got like that? That whole thing. And so, you know what I mean? And we're constantly getting reminders of it. I mean, we're going through something right now, heaven forbid. I'm like, I can't even mention it. But you would kind of think that those times were over. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I would have to be living through things that my grandparents did or my great-grandparents did. But here we are.
It's a very scary time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the one thing that really can speak to all of us are usually the arts.
Yes.
Because that's something that, you don't necessarily have to hit people over the head with it, but you can, what's the word? It's not hitting over the head, but you just sort of
can inform people.
But also ease it into it, and it doesn't even have to be, which sci-fi really is always a great vehicle for telling these stories like that, because it runs along parallel lines, right? But we know exactly what it's going to. You get that through sci-fi, get it through satire, you get it through lots of little things, and so it's important that we, and I think also too it also offers a form of hope. And I think no matter what, I think, always love, because that's a thing that we come from and that we always should be given. And no matter how horrible, and I have to say this, no matter how horrible someone is, they know that's the love that they know. Now, it's not saying that the love that they know is right or is universal, but it's a love. Now, the question is, how do we obviously turn, not necessarily turn that person, but just enlighten that person or help that person sort of see that, hey, you know what, their families there, they're human beings there, you know what I mean? And so, which is why I think sometimes I'm not a big fan of the word borders, because they separate. Now, obviously, everybody comes from a place, sure, but I like the fact that, we can, let's say a film like, I don't know, I'm just top of my head, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, right? Which really, I should not, it's really has nothing to do with where I grew up or anything like that. But I love that movie because it tells a universal story.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is. And referring to Quantum Leap, they told these little universal stories.
Yes.
And made them palatable for the television. You're sort of getting these beautiful lessons, right? But told through emotion and told through, without it being, sort of knocked over your head.
Yeah. Quantum Leap was great at being able to tell a story about issues that are from the past, maybe seeping into the present, but from the point of view of someone living in present day.
Yes, exactly.
And really good at being able to highlight where things are wrong, where things need to be worked on, but also at the same time not really feeling like they're beating you over the head with it. Like
Thank you.
Saying.
And I think that's the thing too. When people feel like when you're forcing someone into doing something, people are always going to reject it. Always. You know what I mean?
That's it.
But when you, it's like, I was going to say tickle. Oh God, that's the wrong word. It's almost like sort of surrounding. When you sort of surround someone, and I don't mean surrounding as in trapping someone. It's like
just like the environment.
Like the environment. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, submerging yourself into something. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? That is just, and you don't have to live there. No, but you're there for a short period of time. But during that time, you feel something. You're enlightened. You get to know something that you didn't know when this thing first started.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harrowing. Sometimes it's funny. It can be thought provoking, and sometimes you get it all at once. You know what I mean? But that's the great thing about stories that we get to do this.
Absolutely, and some stories are timeless for that reason, which kind of leads me into another thing that I saw you've been working on. You've actually been working through the pandemic, haven't you, with the Shakespeare Republic?
Yeah.
So was it you were producing and acting in the Shakespeare Republic?
The Shakespeare Republic, yeah. We had, during this last session, because normally what Shakespeare Republic is, now I sound like a salesman. It is what we do. We take little speeches, monologues, what have you. We take them from, say, the play, and we place them in a modern setting, and we sort of give it a bit of pathos through that modern setting, but we keep it in the original language. So it's
with the iambic pentameter,
and all that stuff. But here's the thing: a lot of people, because most people hear Shakespeare and they kind of get turned off, because what happens is you learned it in school, you had to learn it in school, and it was sort of forced down your throat. And it's a language that we don't speak today. So it turns a lot of children off. Yeah. Right. I remember the first time I had to read it in class. I literally, and I was very proud. I was like, oh, teacher, I'll read. I was one of those kids, right? And I'd be like, and I sat there and I remember I sounded like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any, why do I sound like I can't read? It was like that, right? Yeah. But then I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn. And so I just went, no, this is not going to beat me. So I just kept going. But the thing is with Shakespeare, if you're even going to delve into it, you can't read it first. You have to go watch it.
Yes.
You have to watch it, which is why if you're studying Shakespeare, if anybody has kids or anything like that, or if you're going through it, go see a play with it and then come back to the text, because then it starts to make sense. The only instructions in Shakespeare are usually exit and enter.
Yeah.
That's usually about it, right? Everything else is sort of up for grabs, right?
A lot of interpretation.
Depending on, what it is. So let me get this straight. King Lear was what? Anyway. And so we take these things, we put them in sort of modern day settings, and we tell the story through that. Yes. And, we can be found on the internet. It's in this last series. This is our third series that we've done. And we had to do it remotely because obviously, because of COVID.
Yeah.
So it was as if, so we had a director on one end sort of looking at us, either someone taping us or, no, not someone taping, actually we're taping ourselves because really you couldn't have anybody around the house. And that's it. And so literally we had to do it that way this last series. And I kind of thought, now I remember Sally McQueenie, who is the creator of the series, said she wanted to do it. And she just come off of something else. And I said, are you sure you want to do this? Because I know, you kind of, this other thing kind of killed you. She goes, oh, I don't know. I just feel like, and she was she felt like as if she just wanted to get it back up and running.
Yeah.
And I was more concerned about her thinking, okay, this is a huge workload and that whole thing. But I was like, all right, well, if you're in, I'm in. But, I'm a little worried, that whole thing. But ended up doing it. It all came out. I think we did, I want to say 22 episodes. I could be wrong.
I think that's what I read, yeah.
And yeah, we got through it. And won some awards this year, which is great. I mean, we normally do win awards, but it's and it's the type of thing that is, and Shakespeare can be either done, when it's done well, it's like, wow, it's really amazing. And when it's not done well, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so, but what we try to do is make it palatable to the masses. Because really, let's be honest, if Shakespeare is living today, he'd be writing big popular movies and things along that nature.
Absolutely.
And these stories obviously have lived through time for a reason.
Yes.
And, then you get to debate, did he actually write everything? Look, I don't, to be honest, let's say you can kind of tell in his writing whether or not he wrote it, because there's little signatures that you'll see.
Yeah.
Personally, when I go through the canon, I can't really see anything that really sits outside of his signature.
Everything seems to match.
Yeah. So,
the funniest Shakespeare story that I have heard is there is one play, I can't remember which one it was, but he literally finished writing it while the actors were on stage performing the first part of it.
Oh, that wasn't. No, was that one? No, this is one. Was this one of his first ones, or
I can't remember? I'm sorry. They said this on QI, which is one of my favorite shows.
Oh, QI, yeah,
with Stephen Fry and
that's a brilliant show.
Yeah, and I can't for the life of me remember which play it was, but they were saying there was one play, which
was Romeo and Juliet. No,
probably not.
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up. Yeah, but that's the thing, and so and I think a lot of times. Yeah, we get these certain prejudices, as I said, because of school or whatever. But every once in a while, I think we have to sort of walk through that in order to kind of go, okay, all right. Obviously, this is here. All right, let me open myself up to it. And if you're doing it correctly, and I will say this, if you're doing Shakespeare correct, there's no way if you start a play at one end, there's no way it won't change you. Yeah. By the time you get to the end, there's no way.
Absolutely.
There's no way, you know what I mean? So there's something in you that has to open up or you let down a guard or whatever. And then things start to kind of flow. Yeah. And it's a thing, and so, and even we did in our second season when everybody was choosing to play a part, I can be the ultimate procrastinator. And just kind of go, I'll just wait. I'll wait. And
see what's left.
And see what's left, right? And I remember there was because Sir Ian McKellen does the famous speech from Thomas More. Yeah. And that was on the list. And I'm thinking, I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that. Because I just saw him. No, I'm not touching that whole thing, right? But apparently, Sally had said, everybody, everything's open except for this, because Chris is going to do this one. And I went like, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And I literally, it got to the point where I was like, I'm thinking, it's just staring at me in the face, right? And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to do it on it. And it was like that. And so, I think obviously might have got bamboozled into that one, but it was the thing of, but also too, I knew I couldn't do it as Ian McKellen because, he's Ian McKellen. And I had to do it as myself in the circumstances that was surrounding.
Everyone can only do themselves.
So we put it was during that time. Remember the time when they were deporting families from America because of legal status and stuff like that. It was right during that time. And so, and we try to make them topical. The places, the settings. So basically, I played a council member who was head of council member who basically had to remind the people that, hey, you know what? If we thought the way you guys think right now, if your ancestors thought the way you would think right now, you wouldn't be here. And then that just gave me the impetus to go through it. So, yeah.
And I think I read Dark Arcadia is the next chapter in the Chronicle, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to try to do a little something that talks about that sort of talks of, I don't want to necessarily say, sort of bullying and how language is used in a way that can either be as useful or harmful.
Yeah.
Because someone says, just toughen up. Hey, hold on. You know what? You also had a choice of actually saying what you said. And so, you know what I mean? And so it's making people just aware. And as I said, we just want to enlighten, you know what I mean? Just
definitely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And have fun doing it. Yeah.
So I can tell Shakespeare is quite a passion of yours. And you're in Macbeth as well, an older version of it as well. Maybe.
Oh, the M thing here. Yeah. We did a little thing there. I had to.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said the name of the Scottish play, should I?
No, that's all right. Look, I don't care. Look, no. I just I'll say Macbeth because I'm not superstitious like that. If I'm superstitious like that, what the hell? But did you happen to see the Coen brothers, the one with Denzel?
No, I haven't seen that. I'll get that on my list. But actually, speaking of Macbeth, the superstition actually comes from the days when the reason that it's considered to be bad luck is because when a play was bombing, it would get cancelled.
Right.
And
because Macbeth was always popular, they put it on in place of it.
Yes.
So that's where this bad luck.
That's why you don't want to mention Macbeth. Yeah, yes, because it's almost like, oh shit, are we going to close? Yes. No, I'm not. It's funny how, and the old thing of whistling in the theater, that whole thing too, because we used to whistle back in the day to raise the curtains and certain scenery. And so, things like that I find interesting, but I can't adhere to because it's almost like, what the hell? You got enough things out of your control. Do
you know about the quantum leap superstition?
What's that?
All right. Well, the Halloween episode, which no one's allowed to say, apparently does have an awful lot of bad luck associated with it. Like people who try and record it, the VCRs would stop.
Really?
There'd be things like power outages and lots of things like that. And so there's sort of this same mentality of you're not supposed to say the name of that episode either.
Oh, really?
And so we just joke along with that podcast as well.
But there is the names of the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look it up.
It's a name starting with B.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've already had a little bit of trouble with our electronics, so I'm not going to.
I'm going to say. I'm just going to throw out B words now. All right. Is it Bishop?
No, it's something that comes out of your nose and then.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. But I just find it funny that the quantum leap has its own little superstition similar to that one.
Well, I think listen, we all have a thing that, and here's the thing, people who are superstitious aren't, I think we all have a belief, whether or not if it happens to be of God or Buddha or something bigger than yourself, or even if you believe we're just on this planet in a void and just hurling through space, whatever, all good, right? I do believe that we all have a belief in something, because if we didn't, there wouldn't be sort of a reason to go on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even if you just believe in hope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or whatever. So, yeah.
That's it. But anyway, I hope that our listeners haven't been turned off by our Shakespeare discussion.
Yeah, they're like going, well, shit, get back to the thing, dude. What's going on?
It's been great. I know that everyone's going to love everything that we've said. But we should get something for the sci-fi geeks now.
Oh, let's talk now. Let's talk.
One that really jumped out at me was Predestination, the movie that you did with Ethan Hawke. What was that one? What was that like?
Oh, that was fantastic. I remember when we showed up, it was the thing of when I got on okay, I remember when we got on set, it was like kind of going like, oh, okay, everybody. And the energy seemed a bit like, oh, it was okay. You know what I mean? And I remember I got there just in time for lunch because we're doing night shifts, right? And so we're sitting there and I'm sitting down. And like Willem Dafoe was like right there. I'm like, damn, that's Willem Dafoe, man. Hey, how you doing? And he's like, well, I'm good. Yeah, I got a little injury in my back. I'll be okay. I'll just do a little yoga. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, And I was like kind of going, and I said, oh, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, you're young enough. And he goes, yeah, I'm 68. And I was like, holy shit, what? You know what I mean? I was like, holy hell. But just, I'm sitting
Hollywood 68.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Man, he was so like, I'm sitting there because like one of my favorite films, dude, was To Live and Die in L.A. because it sort of plays along just that noir, crazy sort of, just love that movie. And him in it was, I just thought, holy hell, this guy, And then I went back and saw some of his stuff and Steppenwolf and things. Just amazing. And so I remember just sitting looking at him going, dude, damn, all right, I got him. And on this particular day, I had all the dialogue. So there was Ethan Hawke, there was Claudia Counter, and there was Willem Dafoe. And I remember sitting there going, oh, and I'm doing all the talking. Holy hell. All right. That's all right. Well, let's make it work. And then, we started sitting there and we're going through it. And I remember I make a joke, right? He goes, well, just improvise a little bit if you want to. I said, all right. And I say something about somebody shitting themselves. A couple of people start laughing. Now, here's the thing. When I got to set, there was half the cast and crew had been out because of there was something running through the set. It was something like, And I think they were going to close it down. I'm probably telling tales out of school, but they were going to close it down, but they decided, no, we're going to, half the people were sick, but it wasn't like sort of a health concern where they had to, this is a few years ago, so it was no corona.
Yeah.
All right, there's no corona. All right.
Yeah, it was like 2012 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember I just sounded like, so everyone's sick. I didn't realize that. Okay, all right. And so, you sort of take it on board because, I got to set, I felt like I was like a little kid. I'm jumping around like, all this energy, everything's like, okay, all right. Okay. And even to the point where Ethan got sick. So we actually have a scene in the thing when I meet him, right? But here's the thing. He couldn't be there because he was sick. He got sick.
Okay.
And so we actually had to do, those are two different things.
Right.
Right. But it looks as if.
Yeah.
But bam.
It's amazing the magic that they can do with.
Bam. Oh, just like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And the brothers, Sprigg brothers, they're just amazing.
Yeah.
They're just amazing. They are, they are. Actually, I was mentioning Daybreakers and not Predestination, but anyway. But even then though, and Sarah Snook's performance in that, and Predestination is just, my God, it's just classic. Yeah. It's. Personally, I don't think she really gets the credit that she deserved on that one.
Yeah,
because she was just phenomenal.
It was a really great movie, and all the time travel fans really geek out over that one because of the paradoxes and everything that come out in it. What did you think of the concept?
Oh, I love the concept. Yeah. Well, here's the thing too. In order to actually do a time travel movie and actually make it play, I mean, that script's got to be real tight, or they got to at least keep these timelines. Oh my goodness, and it's not easy. It's not easy to write a good time travel script and keep it on pace and everything like that. Oh my God, they just
definitely,
They just
it surprised me. The whole movie is about a paradox, but somehow it managed to stay paradox free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, didn't it?
Yeah,
didn't it? Yeah. It's because it's based on that short story.
Yes.
By Highland. Yeah. And it's phenomenal. It's really, it was one of those things. I mean, because obviously I did Daybreakers with the guys, and then they go on to do that. And actually, to tell you, I was so proud of them, just as filmmakers and things. I just went, wow, man, that's just great. Yeah, great. Just
definitely.
And talk about using the sci-fi element in order to sort of expand on that storytelling and to say, because there are little messages that they're in there that are just, okay. You know what I mean? So.
For sure. And, Quantum Leap never really went into, despite being a time travel show, never really went into that side of things. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing about Quantum Leap is because they are, it's a different time travel. Yeah. If you know what I mean. And so, it's, and it's, even though, really, to tell you the truth, it's not easy to do something like that, because the thing is, you have to do it and you have to keep it relevant and fresh and all that, which is hard.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hard, you know what I mean? And so, kudos, there's no doubt. But as I said, it's a different type of sort of time travel. But also, too, there's certain elements that are very similar to it. If you know what I mean. So, man, I think personally because I'm trying to write the time travel thing, and it's not easy. Not easy at all.
Well, all the Quantum Leap fans will be there to help you if you need it.
Okay. Hey, guys, I'm looking at a lot. This guy's a talking bear.
Yeah. So it's actually lucky that you've been in Australia, because you've been able to be in some American projects that are filmed here, like Star Wars and the Matrix movies, I think you said. What was it like? So we've got someone who's Star Wars alumnus and a Matrix alumnus. All we need is some Star Trek now for the triad.
You heard him. Come on, Paramount. It's and I like the new Star Trek. Actually, I really Discovery, right?
Yeah,
Discovery. Oh, I like it a lot. Oh, and there's also, is Picard still going on?
It might be, and I think they're doing some more movies as well.
Oh, with the Discovery, or are you talking about the Star Wars?
The Star Trek ones.
Oh, right.
But the Star Wars stuff coming out at the moment is really good too.
Yeah, okay. When I got cast, well, okay. All right, that's an interesting story because I was doing Queen of the Dam. Damn, this sounds so old. I was doing Queen of the Dam, and I remember everybody was getting an audition for The Matrix. And I kind of thought, okay, all right, whatever. And I kind of left it be. But then it got to the point where I went like, well, shit, I'm not being called in. And I asked my agent, I said, hey, do you think I can get an audition? They said, hey, Chris, look, we tried. They don't want to see you. And I went like, oh, right. And I went, I tell you what, just, and I literally said it like this. I said, get me in the room. Now, my mind's eye, I went like, there's no damn way I'm not being in this movie. I'm sorry. Sorry. That's not going to happen. Right.
That's just stubbornness coming through again.
Right. And so I remember the first thing I auditioned for was Ghost. So I sort of did Ghost, and I played him as I would have played Ghost. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. And they said, could you bring him back for this other character, which was the character Miles? So I ended up doing that. And it was like, okay, all right. All right. So I got the job. Okay. Now we're on set, right? And, the actors are sitting around there talking. And they said, well, how many times you auditioned? One guy said, I auditioned like 8 times. How many times? I was about 12. I'm going, oh, shit. Then they come to me. I'm like going, I'm not going to say a damn word, right? I'm going to sound like an asshole. You know what I mean? Because, but being on set, look, for me, for being on set, it actually felt like going home because you're in a big studio. You're, you're getting to play in the thing, but it actually really did feel like home. I mean, I could have been at Universal, NBC, Fox. And so to me, yeah, it felt like, oh, okay, cool. We're going to work, you know what I mean? And hence our characters were a lot like the war thing. So, we had that. So, I was familiar with that world. But just to see the sisters, just to see them work, yeah, it was phenomenal. It was a learning curve beyond anything, Yeah. And yeah, I was happy to be there along for the ride. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was, they said, oh, go stand in the corner. All right, cool. I'll do that. Because here's the thing. Sometimes you'll work with people and you'll be like, okay, all right. Yeah, that was a great experience. That works. And then every once in a while, you do know that sometimes, some people just don't care.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's not for you to, whether or not they care or not, you still got a job to do. But sometimes those people are actually telling you what to do. And so there becomes a little disconnect. For me, there was no disconnect. I would have been like, all right, well, obviously, I see you guys got a bigger picture. If I'm part of that, all right, let's dance. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there was that trust. Yeah, there was that trust for me anyway. Because, I'm sure there were people who they may not have that experience, because it is such a big film. But I loved it. I just thought like, all right, cool. And when I saw there was a time period where, they were making these movies and they would make these movies for this one shot, right? And they make this movie, it didn't have a good plot or anything, but it had this really great special effects shot, this one thing. And then basically it was back to the craft, right? Yeah. And when I saw the previews for The Matrix, I went like, oh, okay. All right. I literally kind of rolled my eyes, because it was that thing of, what was it? It was the one of, I guess, him doing the backflip. I went, okay, they made a movie so you can do a backflip. Yeah. Right. And so my friend came to the house and said, okay, let's go watch this movie. And I said, I'm not going to see that movie, dude. He goes, why? He goes, and I was in the States then, right?
Yeah, well, we saw the best part of the trailer, didn't we?
Yeah. And then it was like, yes, the best part would have been the trailer. He goes, all right, whatever. I said, yeah, just let me know how it goes, right? So he goes to the movies. He comes right back to my house, right? And he goes, and I go, and he's standing at the door, and he has this look on his face, like a look. And I go, did you go to the movies? He goes, yeah. And he goes, well, how was it? And he goes, oh, man. Oh, dude. He's like that, right? And I go, oh, come on. And he goes, no, I'm being dead serious. And then he says, he goes, all right, well, tell me what it's like. And this is exactly what he said. He goes, you know what this movie's like? He goes, it's you. And that's exactly how he put it. And I went, what? He goes, it's you, dude. I'm telling you right now. And I go, oh, come on. He goes, dude, you got to see it. Sorry, let's go now. He's dragging me, right?
Straight back to see it again.
Straight back to see it again, right? And I'm watching it thinking, okay, that's cool. Ooh, okay, that's interesting. All right, then, right? And then I'm falling. I can see I'm leaning in my chair just going, oh, wow, all right, okay. No. But then by the time they get to that moment where Lawrence Fishburne says, welcome to the real world, I'm done. I'm like, oh my God. And I think I said that out loud.
Yeah.
I just went, oh my God. Okay, right? And so, you're just getting it and in a lot of ways. And look, I mean, I know people who basically look at that movie like a mantra, like a religion. You know what I mean? Because it's speaking to people on a different level.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting because you get the original, then you get the sequels. And we won't talk about Resurrections. but you know what I mean? And so you get it's almost like, well, it's almost you're sort of getting the and it's odd that they mention things like, you got Neo's the one, you got Trinity, you got, you know what I mean? You got, Lawrence Fishburne's really John the Baptist and a lot of, and so it's, whether or not you even believe in that, I mean, there's other parallels that you can draw into,
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And so, but it's done with a certain adaptness, but also a certain sincerity that is hard to pull off.
Definitely.
Because a lot of times they get into dialogue in there as they go along that could really be egg on your face for an actor. But you are in it. You are so in it by this point. It's just like, okay, of course you had to say that at that time because that's what this is. You know what I mean? And so it's like, oh, I cannot. And literally I walked out, I went like, and actually sort of reaffirmed my faith. I had my faith reaffirmed a couple of times. That was one in movie making. And Pulp Fiction. Because, they're putting a lot of crap in. But it's something about when someone can take something and make you feel as if, you're just hanging out with a boy at a bar, telling a story. Because in a way that kind of one way on how it felt. But also, too, he was sort of blowing your mind with just the almost the absurdity of certain things, like the violence or some of the dialogue or situations. It's I think it's good every once in a while to have that. You know what I mean? You sort of wish it wasn't so far in between, and that it was more sort of commonplace than it was. I guess the exception. But that's not to say. Look, I mean, there's so many. Great filmmakers and stories that are being told. I mean, constantly. So even things that we don't even get to see they're not mainstream. There's certain movies that are just being made in different parts of this world that are oh my goodness. I love film festivals because you go to film festivals and you get to see things that are like I didn't even think this even existed.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
But people but see, that is why it's important to tell stories.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you just don't know where these gems are going to come from.
And that's also why it's important to expose yourself to as much of it as possible. As
much as possible. Even if you don't speak the language, somebody will have a subtitle of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's it's just so great. And now, look, I mean, who would have thought 30 years ago we'd be sitting down at our home going through libraries of movies that are like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the other day, what was I watching the other day? It was something like, and I have to make the remark, oh, I don't make them like that anymore. That old man remark. But also I think narratives are slightly changing too. But that's not to say that you have to throw away the audience's patience or audience's thinking that they won't come along for the ride or dumbing it down, because you don't. You really don't. We will go along. And also, too, it becomes a puzzle. It's a beautiful puzzle that we can just kind of go, oh, okay. Just I guess just let, I don't know what the hell I'm talking, but just letting the sunshine in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's always, I love when I find little things like that. When you find just this little gem of a movie that you had no idea it even existed, but then you find like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Yeah. This is so
Well,
amazing.
I tend to judge movies as to how good they are by how quickly I could come up with the ending. Like there are some which are very, very predictable all the way through, and I'll say to whoever I'm watching.
Yeah, but that becomes a thing of. But see, even that, you know that time when you're just sitting in the movie and you go to movies with your friends, and then this one dude would be like, just, hey man, this is what's going to happen next. Yeah. Whether if he saw it or not, but he's just saying the thing. Goes, dude, would you be quiet? Do you mind?
That's actually me.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the thing is too. Even if that does happen, at least let me suspend belief so I can go along for that ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's it. But I was just saying, I really appreciate it when it is unpredictable and takes you in ways that you aren't going to expect. And,
yes.
Yeah. Although it's funny that there are so many repeated themes. Yeah. It's actually believed that there hasn't really been an original idea in decades. Well, and if anyone actually did come up with an original idea, everyone would hate it. So
it possibly could. Well, they say every story is written off of the seven stories of creation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's look, maybe there's truth to that. I like to think possibly not, because, and the reason why I say that is this. I think the possibility for stories are as vast as every human being on this earth. Yeah. And we have 7 plus 8, coming on 8 billion people, because we all have different experiences. Even if you're a twin, you still have, your experiences are still a little different. And here's my hope. So I like to think if we actually delve into those truths. But here's the thing too, though. I think there's as many stories. What was it? There's as many stories as there are stars in the sky. But the thing is, I do believe there's a common thread.
Yeah.
And it's through those common threads, those universal truths, that we tap into it. Yeah. We tap into that, and we can obviously kind of go, "Oh, that was really good." But we may not know why it was good, but we know it tapped into us. Yeah. And that is amazing. You know what I mean? Which is why I think sometimes it does break your heart a little bit sometimes when we read about things in the world, because I guess on one hand, maybe we thought we should be beyond this now. Yes. But as you said, it's we still need these things in order to remind us, so we can at least move forward. And I'm babbling now.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject of storytelling, the questions that are on everyone's lips of all the Quantum Leap fans are: since Magic is the only character that is going to be continued in the story, at least in the pilot, are you willing and able to reprise the role if given the opportunity?
Hey man, if they actually said, "Hey, listen, we want you for that," I'd be like, "All right, let's go." You know what I mean? I mean, I think you would always want to delve into something that you did much younger. It's like having to go back, because obviously now you got a little more wisdom, hopefully, knock on wood, a little more wisdom, a little more experience. And the thing is too, your life back then, I was with my buddies trying to survive a war, and now obviously you're a little older, a little more life experience, possibly still in the military. I really don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
And so, you know what I mean? So obviously that has to color your opinions and your just everything about you. And so, but yes, look, if they said, "Oh yeah, here we go," I'd be like, "Oh, okay, let's go."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get me a plane ticket. Get me over there.
Give me Can you imagine? It's like, God, I haven't been to Canada. I couldn't tell you how long. I could not tell you how long. And it'd be beautiful too, because I mean, Canada's a very pretty country. Very pretty country.
Somewhere I've always wanted to see. Yeah.
It's part of the Commonwealth, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. Yes, but I think they're also like got their own head of state now as well.
Oh yeah,
if I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
It's not like here where our head of state's still the Queen. I don't know.
Oh right, all right, that's right. Okay,
but I think they are still part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
If that makes any kind of sense.
Never does. Anyway.
And what sort of stories would you like to see play out on the new Quantum Leap, especially if you're a part of it?
Oh, look. Obviously, too, I like this. Well, obviously, too, because time has passed and we're sort of looking obviously at history back. And I always say there's a certain responsibility, especially when you're looking at history backwards. Yeah. There's things that need to be obviously addressed. It's like that old adage of if you can go back in time, what would you change? Well, the thing is, it's I would like to see, well, look, especially now, there is so much division in our world. And Quantum Leap would be the perfect show to kind of address that because it can really tell the story from almost like oh my God, I just saw the image of Rashomon, where you get the different stories from different things, right? Different angles. And Quantum Leap was always good at that. And especially now with, obviously with technology and special effects we can kind of do now, it would be interesting to see the deep dives they can go into, and how far they would go into it. Yeah. You can address, so many different things. And the thing is, you can almost be, and now obviously too, TV is not, it's not what it used to be. It's not, so you can kind of push the envelope a little more, but at the same time, I think you can push the envelope, but also, give a, sometimes we don't get all the answers. Yeah. We don't get all the answers, but I do believe it takes a certain amount of courage to ask the question. Yeah. And, sometimes even when the question is put up on the table, it sort of leaves it up to you to kind of find that answer within you. Now, that's not to say that, obviously maybe you shouldn't have it like that every week. People are like, well, damn it, I was like, but the thing is sometimes it's good to kind of just to let people ponder, because I think certain things we're still dealing with as a society that, it'll be good to basically bring up the questions. And it can, and those could be long stories too, where, you can hark back to them in different episodes, you can come back to it, or it could be a sort of a long thread for certain characters in the series. Yeah.
It does look like they are going to have more of a serialization to it from the project's point of view. Okay. Not so much from the Leapers, because the Leaper is going to be having a different place every time. Right. But also an extremely diverse cast of characters. Oh, good. I think the Leaper is going to be a person of Middle Eastern descent.
Oh, well, there you go. See, and there you go. So you can address it from that.
I think there's going to be a non-binary character.
All right.
Obviously, an African American who is magic, and so it will be good. I think it means the Quantum Leap is going to be in a very good position to tell these sorts of stories.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah. And so. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see too, because when in the original series, Sam was a white man and he'd be experiencing, things that he wouldn't have experienced from his position of privilege. Right. It'd be the opposite way around. The Leaper this time might experience what it's like to experience white privilege with you.
Yes. Yeah. That'd be interesting too. Yeah. To flip it on its head, just to kind of go, oh wow, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and
I'm very interested to see what magic has to do with the government and with the military side of things.
That should be interesting. It should be interesting. Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know anything about the new series apart from the little bits that have been released. But I know from the little trickles we have been getting, it does look really interesting. And we can tell, especially with Don and Deborah involved in it, it's in very good hands and it's going to go in directions that we like.
Of course. Well, the thing is, they know the, it's the original baby, so they kind of know, the roots and the, the behavior of the premise. And so, it should be fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Far out. We've been going an hour and a half. So.
That's all right. All right. Let's go.
Yeah. No. I can tell we're both a bit worn out now. It's been a fantastic conversation, though. We don't go off and get this deep, and
that's all right. Yeah. Well, you probably would be like, "Oh my God, we have to cut half of this. This guy just said nothing." Anyway.
No, it's been great, and I don't think I'm going to have to do much editing at all, actually. So that makes it even better.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks very much for being here, and
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and
thank you for having me. Yeah,
I appreciate you having me over at your house to do this, and we haven't done an in-person interview before, and always open to new experiences.
Yes, well, we have to be like we had to cut that. Okay, great. Because anyway, but thanks for having me, and and hopefully, let's maybe we can do this again sometimes.
Yeah, sounds good, and hopefully we see you on our screens again too as Magic in the very near future.
I'll tell you what, I need you as my agent. I'll be pushing. Hey, listen, this guy's my new agent.
Yeah. Well, for our listeners who are wondering, the reason that I contacted Chris originally was because we saw the character list, and I thought, maybe he doesn't know that the character is going to be back in the new series, and so that's how we managed to get the conversation going, and me being the one who contacts everyone, I can send out a request to see if we can get anything else going. Not that I've got any power or anything, but it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Wow. Okay. Hey, it's not how you do it, it's how you do it. Anyway, but we'll see. But listen, it's I always take I try not to get too attached to anything because that's life. You know what I mean? Because life is always in flux. But as I said, if it does happen, oh my God, I'd be so appreciative, and so it'd be great to sort of come back and revisit a character that I did when I first started. And so that'd be insane.
Yeah, it would be great. And if the original person is willing and able, there's no real reason why you shouldn't bring them back. So
I guess that's true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again for being a part of this, Chris. I know that our listeners are really going to love hearing everything that you had to say. And we'll all keep our fingers crossed for you as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.